How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we the people choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative.
America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing!
Don't you want healthy children? Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
The sweet emotion raining all over me.
I come to you today as a former Democrat. I will be a first-time Trump voter tonight.
The people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again. Making black new.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Audit the Vote Newsroom. I'm your host, Toni Shoop. I have a very special guest tonight. Before we bring her on, which we're going to do really, really quickly, I hope that video inspires you as much as it inspires me. I think I might even make it my alarm clock on my cell phone because, man, we did it. It still feels good. We got a lot of stuff to cover. Please like, share, and subscribe to whatever platform it is that you are watching us on right now. And also, especially if you are YouTube or Rumble, there is a bell that you can hit so you will get notified when we go live. It'll pop up on whatever device that you are using, your phone, your iPad, whatever that is, so that you can join us and stay up to date on the latest election integrity news. So we are unfortunately not on Facebook. We are not on, oh, there's the bell. Where's the bell, Joel? Were you going to stick that up there? We are not on Facebook. We are not on Instagram because Instagram has decided to be a little fudgy and they are kicking us off for we're not sure why. And there it is. Hit that bell, wherever that is. Whatever that little bell you're seeing on Rumble or I think Twitter. Oh, we're also on Twitch and YouTube for Lord only knows how long, but we'll take it for as long as we can get. Facebook and Instagram are being a little bit contrary, and we are not on those platforms at the moment, but no big deal. We are going to roll right ahead. So my special guest is somebody that you guys already are familiar with if you've been following us for any period of time. Joel, you can go ahead and pull her in. Her name is Sarah McAbee. I did a deep dive interview with her a couple months ago. Sarah and I met in August in Texas, Patriot Academy's Leadership Congress event. Way back the first week of August. And as soon as I heard her story, my jaw hit the ground. Maybe she'll give just a quick snippet of it. But welcome back, Sarah. It is so good to see you. I know you and I have been staying in touch, but it's awesome to have you back. Can you just quick intro of your background and how we got here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on and for giving us a platform to continue to tell our story because it's not over yet. There is hope in sight, though. My name is Sarah McAbee. My husband is Ronald Colton McAbee. He was a law enforcement officer for 7 years on January 6th, and he found himself at the Lower West Terrace Tunnel where, unfortunately, waves of violence had unfolded. And as he was standing there off to the right, he witnessed an officer that was in distress, and he was trained in just what he administered that day. And so he jumped into the line of duty to help. And as he was helping this officer that was lying on the ground in distress, he was assaulted by 2 other Metropolitan Police officers, as well as trying to get to Roseanne Boylan, who is being viciously beaten to death by Metropolitan Police Officer Lila Morris. And the whole encounter lasted about 7 minutes. He did try to give life-saving compressions to Roseanne Boylan, who unfortunately passed away. The officers acknowledged that he was a fellow officer and that he was trying to help them. And in fact, they thanked him twice on camera for his help that day and put their arms around him and said, "I got you, man." And the government thanked him for his service by raiding our house on August 17th of 2021. And he has been incarcerated ever since. He waited 26 months behind bars for trial. He was in the DC Gulag for the majority of that time, and then was found guilty on all charges, 6 felonies and 1 misdemeanor, and then went to sentencing in February 29th of 2024. And Judge Rudolph Contreras threw the book at him and sentenced him to 70 months in federal prison, where he still currently resides. We were going through the appeal process as he had a tainted jury, prosecutors that, were just so unethical, and he didn't have right to self-defense or right to defense of a third party. The same video evidence that they used to charge him with exonerated him on all of his charges. But unfortunately, that doesn't matter when you're in Washington, D.C. in front of a jury of no one's peers, and it's a 99.6 conviction rate with the prosecution. And so he's currently residing in Minnesota. And but after the election, I will say that there has been newfound hope. I would say not only for January 6 defendants, but for all Americans. And Toni, we can talk about what has been back instilled into American citizens. But for us and for all of the 1,500 January 6 defendants, true justice is coming. We don't really know what that looks like, but we know it's coming down the pipeline.
Yes, I love it. How long? These are pictures of your, obviously your wedding. How many years or have you been married right now?
We have been married going on 9.
Oh my gosh. So you got married really young. Look at this. And he has spent the last, is it 3 years?
Yeah, we're going on 4 years.
Oh my goodness. So if you don't know Sarah's story, I'm assuming a lot of my viewers are familiar with her, but if you don't, her website is there. Please consider going, donating, and supporting her. Not only is she dealing with all this horrificness of not having her husband around, but she's been slapped with $30,000 in restitution bills from the government and having to pay $90,000 for an attorney to help with just this whole thing. So she could use some help. You are supporting a good cause by going to her website and donating or getting involved with her nonprofit that she started that is called Stand in
the Gap.
Stand in the Gap. That's what I thought. That's also a documentary. So I was getting a little jacked up with that. Stand in the Gap. It is a nonprofit designed to help the J6 families, like really help the J6 families, not some of the ones that, and I'll let you decide if you want to let that cat out of the bag, but not some of the ones that there's corruption everywhere. There's corruption in every movement, in every sector of government. We see it in election integrity. There's those people that they're part of the movement. And those of us that are kind of digging in know what's really going on. And you have to kind of tiptoe because you don't want to hurt the movement. You don't want to out people. It's a very delicate balance. And the J6 community is no different. But this is a very good organization that you can support that will definitely go directly to supporting J6 families and not to illegal businesses that are being run by people inside the DC Gulag who somehow have cell phones in there. Something to think about. Just something to think about there.
Right.
So we are hoping, by the way, Joel, if you have the flyer for the event, December 13th, you are all invited to join us. We're having an election integrity celebration here in Pennsylvania for the friends and the family, everybody that's been on the ground with us fighting for this cause since November 3rd of 2020. There's a lot of you, and we are going to come together and celebrate and fellowship and lift each other up because we have a lot of work ahead of us. There it is. We have a lot of work to do ahead of us, and yet we need a little bit of a breather. And we've just got to come together, I think, for kind of a, hey, it finally paid off. All the work, all the sacrifice, all the late nights and long drives and all the crazy stuff that we did to try to get a fair election that apparently, hopefully, was fair enough to get President Trump over the finish line. We're going to celebrate. So a little minor detail that is not so exciting to announce, but unfortunately, the great Catherine Engelbrecht and True the Vote Greg Phillips are having some challenges that they are not going to be able to attend the event. We are staying in touch with them. True the Vote is potentially going to sponsor the event, which is what's making it free. So there's no charge for you to come. We ask that you RSVP and bring a side dish of some sort with you. I think we have plenty of desserts already, but RSVP and bring us a side dish. We are still going to have a great time. Catherine was going to be our keynote speaker, but we're going to bring her back a different time instead. We have confirmed Dr. Frank. We have confirmed Captain Seth Keschel, and working on a bunch of other stuff and speakers and panels. And I'm trying to get Miss McAbee to come and be our kickoff speaker. And no pressure, Sarah, whatsoever. She has enough life going on too. But if she is able to work things out and join us, you will get to meet her live and in person. She's from the state of Tennessee, so she might join us in Pennsylvania. Encourage all of you to come scan the QR code. I'm getting better at that, Joel. Scan the QR code that is on that flyer for the RSVP and join us on December 13th. Doors open at 5:30. Event will kick off at 7. Tons of food, tons of fellowship, tons of fun. More importantly, let's save the Republic by making our elections great again. Mega, hashtag mega. Oh, somebody said, good job, Toni. I don't know who that is, but thank you. All right, so back to Sarah. Sarah, talk to us about, I want to get her opinion on a couple of things. Yes, I know Matt Gaetz. Everyone's kind of like shell-shocked. Most people in our circle were really excited about him being the Attorney General. And oh my gosh, he just withdrew his name. What does that mean? But before we do that, Sarah and I have been texting ever since we met in August. And I know election day for both of us was really emotional because I don't know about you, Sarah, but I didn't think the scenario that unfolded was at the bottom of my list of what I thought we were going to see, where, right, like they announced the winner on election night, the quote unquote loser concedes the next day, and everything's just kind of quiet. That was like, if I was a betting person, I would have bet the farm that that's not how it was going to work out. And yet that's exactly what happened. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thought we would still be sitting here on November 21st and not have a result of the election, to be completely honest with you. I think people were afraid to go to bed that night because of what happened in 2020 and the shenanigans that they pulled. But I think it goes back to what President Trump said, which was too big to rig. And I think people showed up in absolute numbers, as we should, and vote. And, I will say, I do think that there were some nefarious things going on. I just don't know how that woman got 68 million votes, in my opinion. But I do know that there were so many people, boots on the ground, that truly understood what was happening at our polls. I walked into my little county in Tennessee and I asked for a paper ballot and I wasn't given one because they said that they didn't do that in this county. And so I voted on the machine and I told them how I felt about it as I was walking out of there. But I think that that's one thing that President Trump needs to do as soon as he gets into office is, election integrity, whether it's one day in person, paper ballot voting only, unless you're extenuating circumstances. And we must lay out what those extenuating circumstances are. But there absolutely has to be election integrity because I don't think we just skated through this election. I believe God showed his hand and showed that you were never too far gone. And it was only by him that I think that we got through this 2024 election. But people have to realize that just because we won the election does not mean that our work is over. In my opinion, it means that our work truly just started. So patriots across the nation need to be ready to roll up their sleeves and not just go back to living their little comfortable life, because it's not about the next 4 years. It's about the next 250 years.
Amen, lady. Oh my gosh, so well said. I couldn't agree with you more. Our work is just starting on multiple fronts. You've obviously uncovered a ton of corruption within the federal prison system. So not sure what the future is going to look like for you or what area you're really going to dig into, but we have both seen more than our share of garbage and how bad the rot has has gotten, how deep it really is. And our work is just getting started. And I view it the same way, that we just, by getting President Trump over the finish line, we have some breathing room at the federal level. I think even Rick Green talked about federal cover, but the real work is at the states, where we have to take back our local communities, our city councils, our school boards, get this woke garbage out of the school. Drag queen story hour in our libraries. No transitioning kids that are 5. Oh, you want to be a boy today? Well, maybe you're actually supposed to be a boy. No. All that hard work really starts now. And thank God we get a breather instead of have to do it under a bunker of some sort. So Sandy, imprisoning innocent people is off the charts of being un-American. Oh, so sorry for Sarah and her husband and family. Well, we don't know. So I know you said the future is a little bit uncertain, but has anything changed since election day, or what is it looking like for Colton to get a pardon of some sort? What does that look like?
You know, I believe President Trump is a man, promises made, promises kept. And he has said on day one, he will take care of January 6th. Now, where it gets a little in the gray area is, what does that look like? Does that mean on January 20th, January 21st, the 230 individuals that are incarcerated will walk out of prison cells, and then the true investigation starts? Does that mean that he's pardoning them on day one? Is he only pardoning violent versus nonviolent? There's so many questions. I will say, as a January 6th defendant, not only a wife, but an advocate, I will say, in the very beginning, if you would have asked me, I would have said, no, I do not agree with blanket pardons. Each person needs to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. But what I can tell you is that what I've learned through this process is it doesn't matter that the people that are known Antifa, people that are known Black Lives Matter, any sort of group, whether they were a conservative group or a liberal group, they've had their constitutional rights dissolved right in front of them, because there were known Antifa that were held inside the DC gulag that were sentenced to long prison times, not as long as other people, but I will say their constitutional rights were dissolved. And that's where things, even on the Republican side, you can start to get into debates about, is because they say, no, we don't need a blanket pardon because there were agitators on the ground that day. And there were informants and, Antifa and all of that. But at the end of the day, you have no justice when you are picking and choosing. And it goes back to 5 guilty men going free, so 1 innocent man doesn't sit in jail. And so I think our time, resources, and money need to be spent on investigations. A blanket pardon to send a message to the deep state to say you're never going to do this again to American citizens. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle that you sit on. Nothing that happened on January 6th constitutes 4 years in prison in inhumane conditions that you wouldn't even hold animals in, or PETA would get involved. People don't understand that it wasn't that long ago that we had no visitation. We didn't get to see our loved ones for 2 years. They weren't allowed haircuts. They weren't allowed religious services. The food that they were fed was absolutely despicable, that I would highly doubt your animals would even eat. They didn't get to go outside. They didn't get recreation. The manner in which they were treated was horrific, that no American citizen, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And those are the things within our justice system that we have to go back to. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we need to go back to our founding principles. And so it needs to be a statement, a January 6th blanket pardon, and then you do investigations. Let's talk about Ray Epps. Let's talk about the confidential human sources on the ground. And what you have to understand is, even though I'm advocating for a blanket pardon, sure, my husband falls into the violent versus nonviolent. I wouldn't be concerned if they would look at his case because he was not violent that day. But there are things that we are having to give up for the greater win of society, talking about the gentleman that he went with that day. There would be no justice for us in regards to how that entire situation transpired, that man is still living his best life and hasn't spent a day behind bars. And yet he did terrible things that day. And so you have to understand that there are two sides to every story. But really, when you look into the nitty gritty of the pardons, we don't need to be picking and choosing who gets pardoned. We need to be spending our time and resources on a true January 6th committee that looks into the pipe bomb, that looks into the actions of the Capitol Police and the Metropolitan Police officers. And in my opinion, they need to have not just a committee, but all of the individuals who have uncovered the last 4 years of what January 6th actually was. People like Steve Baker, Julie Kelly, Joe Hanneman, Darren Beatty, all of these people that have been true investigative journalists, they need to be marched in front of all 535 members of Congress so they can say what they have witnessed. But not only that, every January 6th defendant should be brought back to Washington, D.C. And go under oath to tell their stories. And then those stories should be told to all 535 members of Congress, because it's an absolute atrocity what has happened to these individuals.
I hope that starts literally January 20th or 21st. Like, start the parade. That is going to be absolutely astounding to get the world to see how many, because you and I both know there's still people on the other side of the aisle that are convinced it was an insurrection and that these people, all of them, were just horribly violent and they deserve to be behind bars. But if they would actually see the faces of them and their real stories with footage to back it up in front of Congress, that would be a dream. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I hope January 21st. Let's advocate for that and get on it. Oh my God. I know you and I texted a little bit back and forth in your hesitance for a blanket pardon. And I'm not deep enough into it to really have a strong opinion one way or the other. I just want justice, and I want to see people like you and your husband reunited. And I'll tell you what, audit the vote. Toni Shoop, audit the vote. We are going to make her husband a hero. I don't know what this is going to look like when he gets out. They're going to have a lot of recuperating to do, recovering. I don't know what the pieces look like when they're being put back together. But if and when he and you are ready, we are going to make you guys heroes that you are. Truly. I'm so blessed to know you. Shifting gears, Matt Gaetz. Okay, so let's get to I know people are saying that Bob Casey conceded. Woohoo, Dave McCormick. Yay. We'll get to that later. We're going to go through some breaking news because Sarah actually only has 30 minutes. She's got 9 minutes before she has to hop off. So before she does, I want to get her take on some of the more national things that are pressing that people are asking questions about. And I know, Sarah, that you have had some interaction, I believe, with, I guess it's Congressman Gaetz, not Senator Gaetz, Congressman Gaetz. And this is kind of a shock to most people. What are your thoughts? Do you think there's more to it? Do you think that they've got stuff on him? Do you think, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
You know, if we were to think that they had stuff on him, that would have come out, you know, when he wasn't afraid to stand up to the deep state, even in the Biden regime. I will say Matt Gaetz is one of the only ones that have truly done things for January 6th defendants in the capacity that he could, meaning he is the one who held the field hearing for myself and for others to testify and get on records our stories and our advocacy for January 6th back in June of 2023, which was very unpopular, but he did it anyway. And individuals that were in his district in Florida where they're being housed in the BOP, he went down there, he got individuals out of some of the most horrific conditions. He talked to their families. His staffers were wonderful. I will say that if he had something on him, they would have found it a while ago to take him down. What I believe, and I don't know other than just from looking at different various news sources, trusted news sources, what I have heard has happened is when he was nominated for AG, he put in his resignation for the 118th District of Congress to Mike Johnson. And he went and spoke to Senate this week. And here's the thing. It's not about the rhinos that are currently walking the streets that you and I can see. It's about the rhinos that walk the street in Washington, D.C. that are part of the establishment. And he went to Senate this week and had meetings. And basically what I have heard is it came back that he was not going to be confirmed as AG. And so there was redistricting that was done in Florida. And so he actually won the seat of the 119th district, not the 18th. So he resigned from the 18th, but he won the 119th. And so that means that if he were to choose to go back to Congress, he would still be in Congress and be under the 119th. Now, that is just what I have heard. I have not had time to confirm that, but that would make sense to me. Another thing that I heard is he might move to the Senate and take Mark Rubio's seat as well as the Senate. So there's a few things that are at play. I will say I don't know enough about the new AG, Pam, to make a comment on her.
That was my next question because I have never heard of her.
Yeah, I have heard some of her statements that she made on the stage with President Trump, you know, basically just antagonizing people to come after her and see what happens to them. She seems like a bulldog. But I will say I don't know enough about her to make an informed opinion. I just have to believe that President Trump has surrounded himself with people separate from who he surrounded himself with in 2016, because I know that was a big thing, that he had people who really weren't on his side. But now you can see that he has brought in people like Tom Homan with the borders are. There's no one better than Tom Homan to send these people home, and people like Elon, who has never had anything to do with politics before, but understands, just like President Trump, about America being a business and putting the right people in the right seats to make sure that this continues to move forward.
I was going to say, how excited are you about, I don't know. I asked my husband yesterday, is it Doge? Is it Doji? He's like, what's it matter? I said, well, I don't want to get on a podcast and look like an idiot. So I don't know. Is it, my husband's like, well, maybe it's Doggy. I don't know what it is, but how excited are you about whatever that is? And
yeah, I absolutely think we need that. I hope they clear out 95% of the federal government, and send all these people back home. There is no reason for us to be spending $3 million to see how hamsters fight on steroids. That is your $3 million. And that's what people don't understand. They aren't literally sitting there watching hamsters fight on steroids. That's money laundering at its finest. And that's American taxpayer dollars that, you're telling me the Pentagon for the 7th year in a row can't audit their books, except for if that was any American business owner, they would be sitting in jail right now. And so that's why it is so important. And I think it's great that they have a Twitter account going so they can expose it to the American people. I think what Elon Musk said on Election Day, that we are the news, is absolutely the truth. Nobody is watching. Look at what's going on with Comcast and ABC and The View. You're telling me The View only has 60,000 views, and yet these podcasts have more than 60,000 views. That goes back to, we are now back in control of the media. And I think it's great that Vivek and Elon are now going to even make a podcast. So there's full transparency on what's going on in our government. They forget that they work for us. So technically we should be auditing them.
So many good things that you said. I could not agree more. The transparency that it appears Elon and Vivek going to bring to this is going to be a game changer for sure. They seem to want to 95% absolutely tear it all down. I totally agree. Can't wait to see how the RFK thing goes with health, and how they're going to basically make our government stop poisoning us with food, ingredients in our food that are banned in other countries because they are so bad for you. And yet it's riddled in every grocery store across our nation. Hopefully RFK can have a big effect on that. Trying to think what other question. I had another question for you as you were talking about that, but Doge, do you call it Doji? Doge?
Doge.
It's Doge. Okay. Who did I hear?
I don't know. I haven't heard anybody say it, but I say it's Doge. Like Dogecoin, the cryptocurrency.
Oh, that makes sense. Elon being the money man that he is, that makes total sense. And what a coalition that came together. Oh, the media. That was the last comment I wanted to make. If nothing else, I would say equal to the win of getting President Trump back in office is the fact that the media is dead. We literally killed the media. We dominated the court of public opinion, and the legacy media, mainstream media, is completely dead, as evidenced by what you just said. Is things like The View are getting 60,000 views. CNN, I mean, it's over. So that is going to be interesting to see how that unfolds, how those companies, whether they are purchased, I don't know how that's all going to work, but I think we have a very bright future ahead of us. And I can't wait to meet Colton. When's the last time you've seen him, like in person? When have you visited?
I go about once a month now. Now that he's in federal prison, it's much easier. I'll actually go the weekend after Thanksgiving to see him because his birthday's coming up. So
when's his birthday?
December 3rd.
Oh, my oldest daughter's December 5th. How old is he going to be, if you don't mind me asking?
31.
Wow.
Yeah.
My gosh, you guys are so... It stinks that he lost these years, but when he gets out, I think this was, I'm sure, for a purpose, Sarah, and the Lord is going to use both of you mightily, because you're the generation that's the remnant. And oh my gosh.
I absolutely believe all of these individuals that have endured hardships over the last 4 years, their lives will be used for the betterment. Whether we know that it's, whether it's in this lifetime or in heaven, that we know that our life was used for the betterment of the Lord. To, like I said earlier, it's not about the last 4 years and what's happened to us. It's about the next 250, because I truly believe that if we would have had a different result on November the 6th, we would be in war right now. There would be lives being taken. In the last 4 years would have been for absolutely nothing, but because the Lord spared us. And as I said, it was only because of him that he spared us, that we can now right our wrongs. And so we need to learn from what's happened to American citizens over the last 4 years to ensure that this never happens again. Because it's not just about us. It's not just about January 6th defendants. You look at what happened to Joey Lynn Masaros and her family. You look at what's happening to Tina Peters and her family, Beverly Williams and her family. And those are just the people that we know about. What about the people that we don't know about? Because the media has not touched them, because they are too afraid to tell their stories. And so now it's time that we turn the tables on them. Listen, I am a firm believer that our justice system could work if we go back to our founding documents. And I do believe that true justice is coming for those. Treason is treason. And you know what the punishment is for treason. And I believe that it needs to absolutely be an example. So individuals in the future look back and say, did you see what happened in 2025 when President Trump took office, and those, they used political warfare against each other? Look at what happened to them. I'm going to choose to not do that. That they need to be made examples out of.
Amen. I think going back to what you said about 2016 and President Trump surrounding himself with people that were not good, I think he's learned a valuable lesson. The only thing left that I have seen from my angle and vantage point is that he is a loyalist. And so people that have been loyal to him in some cases, whether they're good or not, that's a blind spot that I personally think. And I'm just praying and hoping that enough good people, though, have made their way up the ladder that it'll keep the same things from happening. Certainly, I'm nowhere near what 2016 he saw, obviously, with the coalition of folks that he's going in there with. But blessed to have you, lady. I know it's 8:31. You got to get going. Where can people find you? How can they support you? And then you let me know as soon as you can if you can come on the 13th.
I absolutely will. You can go to sarahmacabee.us. We're going to be updating that with things that go along in Colton's case, as well as updating all of our podcasts that I've been on and podcasts that are on my show, the Sarah McAbee Show. On there, it also has all of my social media. I'm more active on my X than anything else. You can go on there and you will learn all of my political opinions.
Awesome. Well, I will let you go, my lady. Oh, Joel, what are we doing? Oh, very good. Yes, this is sarahmacabee.us. Of course, X, where free speech lives, because yes, Lord knows Facebook and Instagram are commie books, if you will.
Yes.
Hit the like buttons, like, share, and subscribe to all of this, because we are the media, we are the news now, and we need your help to stay that way and to grow and to remind the next generation behind us to never let this happen again. So thank you, my dear. We will be in touch. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Joel.
Awesome. I just love that woman. Love her to pieces. Hope she can make it on the 13th, but I understand if she cannot. Maybe we'll have her zoom in. I don't know. Ideas are flying all over the place in my head. That, like I said, the great Catherine Engelbrecht. When she had to make other plans this week, I was heartbroken. But I totally understand, and we're still going to make it a really good event. Getting into the news, one thing that before we do that, Joel, if you have the video queued up for the Patriot Experience, I want to show this video. Let me give a little preface to this first. Sarah mentioned that it's not about even the January 6ers or us, but it's about the next 250 years. And one of the reasons that we got ourselves into the mess that a lot of us woke up to in 2020 is because we were checked out. We don't understand our own system. We are civically ignorant on the most massive scale that you could possibly fathom. And Patriot Academy and Rick Green and our team are working very, very hard to fix that. And one of the things that he's instituting there in Fredericksburg, Texas, is something called the Patriot Experience, where you can choose to go for 3 days, 5 days, or 7 days, and you can get civically educated. If you want to go through the legislative simulation process, that's a 3-day event where you will actually get to sit in the shoes of a live legislature for a day. You'll learn how to write a bill. You'll learn the whole process, how it gets into a committee. How does it get argued through committee? How do you make changes to it? How do we get it out to the floor? What happens to get it passed once you get to the floor? You get to sit in those shoes and walk through all of that. for 3 full days. It is a game changer for anybody that is not just an activist. I personally think that anybody that runs for office should have to go through something like this before they're even eligible to sit and represent people in their state. There is no training, by the way, for state reps, whether you want to be a senator, a House rep, Congress, your state general assembly. I guarantee you, not that I want to start picking them apart just yet. Everyone knows I'm not a huge fan of Dave McCormick. Yay. Okay. We kept the Senate and I did hold my nose and vote for that bugger, but I'm not really excited about him. I don't think he's America first. I'm very skeptical. We'll be watching his votes very closely, but I would also be shocked if he understands how to write legislation. Probably not. Most people that get in these positions don't. They have a staff that does it for them, and then they end up being puppets and spend most of their time raising money so that they can stay in office. Hope that doesn't happen. One of the ways we can avoid it is by educating ourselves. So if you have the video up for it, Joel, he might be scrambling looking for it because I stuck it in the private chat. And if you're not able to get it, it's no big deal.
Hey, fellow patriots, the first Patriot Experience is going to happen right here in this room. And I'm inviting you to be a part of it. We're going to have a great time. December 10th to the 12th will be the 3-day core curriculum for the Patriot Experience, which is a legislative simulation, constitution training, public speaking training, how to testify in a committee. All of these things will happen that week. December 10th through the 12th for the 3-day core part of the Patriot Experience. And then if you want to do the 5-day Patriot Experience, you get not only this legislative training, constitutional training, speaking training, all that leadership training, but you also get the training of constitutional defense. And if you do the 7-day Patriot Experience, you get all of that, the full 4-day handgun class, and a private dinner that I would love to treat you to, where we can talk about the future of the United States of America and the role the Patriot Academy is playing in restoring our constitutional republic. But regardless of whether you choose the 3, the 5, or the 7-day Patriot Experience, come join me on December 10th for the very first Patriot Experience right here in this room. I look forward to seeing you here.
That is a brand new program at the campus that Patriot Academy is building in Fredericksburg, Texas. I am so excited to see this coming together. Rick's been talking about this for over a year. And the reason I would thank you, put that up there. This is still in its infancy stage, Joel. If you just want to scroll through it, there's going to be ways to register for these events. I know Rick just promoted December 10th through the 16th. First of all, I want everybody in Pennsylvania on the 13th on my event where we're going to be talking more about this. Might even have Rick Green do a video or live stream into us to talk a little bit more about it. But we are planning one of these that is going to be, if we can fill it with just Pennsylvania, great. If not, we're going to take a lot of our Pennsylvania folks, election integrity, constitution coaches, down to Fredericksburg at the end of April. And we're going to put together one of these Patriot Experiences. And we would love to have as many of you join us as possible. So stay tuned and reach out to us if you're serious about attending and want to see what this is all about. It is incredibly affordable. It is not astronomical. It's no more expensive than going to a theme park for the day. In terms of fees, we're still working out details of pricing and what that's going to look like and where we're going to stay. I do know they have cottages on the campus. So there's even an option basically to stay right then and there. Cheaper than, if not, or at least around the price of a normal hotel room, $150 a night ish, where multiple people can fit into these cottages. You can stay right on site. You can get your handgun training. It is, Rick Green describes it as Disneyland for patriots. And I absolutely cannot wait. So mark your calendars, the end of April. We are going to do the constitutional defense class. We're calling it Coaches Go to ConDef for us Constitution coaches that last weekend of April. And we're going to tack on a Patriot Experience in the middle of the week before the constitutional defense. So if you want to join us, you'll be able to choose. Do you want to come for the 3-day? Do you want to come for the 5-day? Do you want to stay a whole week? Or do you just able to come maybe for the handgun defense class? Whatever it is, there's going to be something for everybody. And also, by the way, donate to Audit the Vote, because one of the initiatives that I want to fundraise for is to be able to sponsor patriots to go to things like this. We need to raise up the next generation and get them educated and informed and equipped. And so we want to raise money for that, so that I don't want money to be the reason why a good patriot doesn't get to experience something like this that they can take back to their community. So go to auditthevotep.com/donations if you want to contribute to our cause and the many different things that we have. We're going to be unrolling our new programs, things we're going to be working on in 2025, 2026, and beyond. But one of them, again, is I want to have some scholarships available and ready for folks that want to do stuff like this, but can't because of money, and we want to be able to fund it. So thank you for that, Joel. We can roll into the news. There's a new section of our website. When I redid the website shortly before the election, I added a breaking news tab. And so if you want to stay up to date with the latest and greatest election integrity news, that's kind of what this feed does, is it pulls news from, there it is, breaking news. Thank you, Joel. auditthevotep.com is the website. Go to the breaking news tab and you will see right here. It is pulling from mainstream sources as well as alternative media, so we can see both sides and maybe watch them crash and burn live. I can't wait. When the New York Times, somebody's going to sell it. So you can see there's the Federalist in there. I have Epic Times. It's pulling the New York Post, the Washington Examiner, and it is literally in live. It's scrolling in the news. So if you want to keep up with elections, go to our website, Breaking News. Scroll back up for a second, Joel, so I can see what the first one is there. You can click on some articles and we'll go one at a time. Bob Casey concedes Pennsylvania Senate race to Dave McCormick. What happens when you click on that link? See what the article says. I think I saw the concession. Don't you just love it's the second one too. Casey cries uncle, ending Senate race recount in Pennsylvania. Look at the difference in the Federalist versus the Examiner title. Oh my gosh. Casey cries uncle, ending, what was that, 40? Look how quick that is, 43 minutes. I love how it just like pulls these in. Ending the Senate race recount in Pennsylvania, wasting our tax dollars as we speak to recount votes. I think I read somewhere, I'm not sure exactly what county, that during the recount, there ended up being more Republican votes than Democrats as they were recounting, which may have contributed to Casey's crying uncle and saying, okay, forget it. We got to get rid of these voting machines. That's going to be a huge priority for Audit the Vote to advocate to go back to hand count paper ballots, one-day elections, no mass mail-in ballots, because then hopefully we won't have to deal with stuff like this. Joel, click on one of those articles, either actually do the Federalist. Let's see what they're saying about this. Casey McCormick, yay. I know some of you share my sentiments in there. I know it would go if it was in Pennsylvania. I know, but seriously, schedule a family vacation, a family trip, and let's do it. Bob Casey cries uncle. I'm not reading it yet again, but here it is, the Federalist. Keep scrolling. Let's see what they're saying. I need cataract surgery. Pennsylvania voters have officially flipped a U.S. Senate seat from Democrat to Republican with the election of Dave McCormick. He was declared the winner by the Associated Press on November 7th, but incumbent Democrat Senator Bob Casey Jr. refused to concede for 2 weeks. Are they going to call him an election denier? Just wondering. Casey finally admitted defeat on Thursday evening in a sober video posted on social media. I just called Dave McCormick to congratulate him on his election to represent Pennsylvania in the United States Senate, Casey said. As the first count of ballots completed, Pennsylvania can move forward with the knowledge that their voices were heard, whether their vote was the first to be counted or the last. We don't have to listen to him. Stop this video. Blah. During my time in office, I've been guided by an inscription on the finance building in Harrisburg. All public service is a trust, given in faith and accepted in honor. Thank you for your trust in me for all these years. Pennsylvania has been Pennsylvania. It has been the honor of my lifetime. Okay, go away. Because how many bad things did he vote for? He probably voted for transgender bills and to kill babies and all that other garbage. So thanks, Bob Casey. Thanks, but no thanks. Don't let the door hit you on your way out. And let's pray to God that McCormick doesn't turn into a rhino on day one. All right, go ahead back, Joel. See what happens if you hit the back button. Let's see what's next on the docket for news. I know there's probably an article in there talking about Matt Gaetz. We got Sarah's take on that. Let's see. After Matt Gaetz's graceful withdrawal, Team Trump needs a new pick, which he has already picked, I believe. Let's see what let's see what the Washington Post, click on that one, is saying about analysis. 4 takeaways from Matt Gaetz's exit. Let's see what that has to say. My phone blew up as soon as it came out that he was resigning, because I think people are just There were people that loved him. I did have a couple people that were skeptical. I honestly, I wasn't sure. I obviously trust Sarah's opinion, and she said that was a good thing. Oh, we might have to subscribe so we can actually see this Washington Post article. Well, we're not giving any money to this trash rag. So, if you can't get to it, Joel, just get a different one for Gates and we'll see what they say. I just want to see what some of the media pundits are saying, because I don't have a whole lot of experience with Gates myself, but a lot of people like Sarah that I trust are saying that who's up for Trump's AG post? Well, they already named that one. You guys are a little late 5 hours ago. And I don't know anything about this new girl either. I think Sarah even told us what's up for Matt Gaetz after his withdrawal from his AG run. Oh my gosh, I saw the Alaska. I guess that's enough of Gaetz. We know all that anyway. Alaska ranked choice voting repeal loses by 664 votes. That one I believe they've been counting since November 5th. That's one of those lovely scenarios where they somehow found votes after 15 days after the election. Ranked choice voting, for those that don't know, is a Trojan horse that appears to look like it's going to give us a better representation, since there's candidates. Nobody likes everything about everybody. And so what they're trying to say with ranked choice voting is you get a much better even representation, because you can rank your choices. Okay, I don't like McCormick, but I don't like, I'll pick Casey second, or however, whatever race that you get to rate the candidates that are running, and they're trying to peddle that as a good thing. It is not. Any election integrity person will tell you that it is a Trojan horse for them to continue to manipulate outcomes of elections so that our voices are not reflected, but those that the deep state wants to install instead. Their police report on Hegseth, alleged sexual assault, vindicates him. All right. I did see headlines in the last few days that Pete Hegseth, he was one of the first appointments. I can't for the life of me remember where they stuck him. Is he head of the CIA? Can't remember. Click on that one. The Federalist, police report on Hegseth's alleged. Of course, the sexual assault allegations start flying like day one, pretty much for everything, no matter what side you're on. That's one of the hardest ones to even dig into, I think, and prove and get to the bottom of, because people start crying initially, instantly. Okay, so he has been vindicated. He wrote a book I know that I've wanted to read, but halt there. All the evidence, scroll back up, indicates Pete Hegseth was pursued by a married woman who then regretted her decision to have an affair. Oh boy, this article discusses explicit sexual acts. All right, well, we'll keep it PG. What you're going to hear now and in the coming days from the national media is that there are graphic details in a police report related to an alleged sexual assault involving Pete Hegseth, President-elect Donald Trump's incoming nominee for Defense Secretary. That's it, Secretary of Defense. It's certainly graphic, but the media will bet you won't bother reading the report, which in reality looks really bad for the alleged victim and effectively clears Hegseth of criminality. 22-page report details an incident from 7 years ago when, in 2017, Hegseth, who was then a Fox News celebrity, attended an event for a Republican women's group as a featured speaker. The way the media have relayed the event so far is that a woman in attendance has accused Hegseth of drugging her at an after party before raping her in his hotel room. Oh, nice. Outside of the alleged victim's admittedly incomplete recollection, none of the testimony or evidence included in the police report supports that claim. So it looks like Hegseth is a good guy after all, and I wish I could remember the name of the book that I want to read. That's okay. We don't have to read the whole thing, Joel. You can X out of that. But there you go. I guess he's vindicated. I didn't even know that he had been accused of sexual assault. I did see something come across my X feed with a questionable that there might be some type of scandal with him, but it looks like everything's going to be good. Not sure what people, Trump's picks are kind of all over the place. Some are good, some are bad. Oh, there it is. Thank you for pulling up his books. Look at that. The War on Warriors. Keep scrolling. That wasn't the one. There was one, Battle for the American Mind. Think that was it. Uprooting a Century of Miseducation. Modern War. I've heard good things about him as an author. American Crusade, Our Fight to Stay Free. Look at all these books. He wrote the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence. Very cool. I think the one that I wanted to read is further up about the author. In the Arena. I've heard of that one too. In the Arena. Okay. Battle for the American Mind. I got to go back through and see. Anybody in the hit the comments if you've read any of his books and what your thoughts are on him, because I have heard all good things. I'll start checking some of the comments myself. A sober video. Did he get drunk after? Oh gosh. Pam Bondi has a good resume in Florida. Trump had it in his announcement. I certainly hope he knows what he's doing there, and that the new replacement for Matt Gaetz is good. Again, I don't really have any experience with Gaetz. I don't really like any of those buggers that could have defunded the DOJ's program that was keeping the January 6th charade alive, and they chose not to. So I'm not looking to Congress or Washington, D.C. for any type of salvation. It's going to come from us. I am super excited about Vivek and Elon Musk and their Doge Department of Government Efficiency. The fact that they're going to go live and transparent with everything. I think we need to be praying hedges of protection around all of these people that they don't get offed, because I'm sure the deep state is shaking in their boots and does not like these different appointments. Tulsi Gabbard being the director of, is it Intelligence, National Intelligence, DNI? Yes. Director of National Intelligence. He has named a CIA director. I can't off the top of my head remember who it is. I don't think he's named Kash Patel yet for FBI, unless somebody can confirm in the comments and let me know he has. But I do hear that Kash Patel is on the docket for... All right. Matt Gaetz posts cryptic tweet about his future from the Gateway Pundit. All right. Matt Gaetz on Thursday announced he's withdrawing his nomination for U.S. Attorney General after a meeting with senators. After relentless attacks over recycled junk allegations brought by the Biden regime's DOJ, Matt Gaetz withdrew his nomination on Thursday. He writes, I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There's no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one, writes Matt Gaetz. I don't know what to think of this. I remain fully committed to see that Donald J. Trump is the most successful president in history. I'll be forever be honored that President Trump nominated me to lead the Department of Justice, and I'm certain that he will save America. And then he puts on his Twitter post, I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction. I don't know. I don't know what to think of that, guys. But keep your head on a swivel. Oh, however, the 5 Senate Republicans that were a hard no. I saw 4. I didn't realize there were 5. Mitch McConnell from Kentucky. First of all, that dude looks worse than Biden. If you've seen him lately, he looks like somebody should be carrying him into a rest home. I don't know why the heck he's still a senator. It looks like Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, Susan Collins from Maine, Mark Wayne Mullen from Ohio. Interesting to see what district he's at. And then the new Senator-elect John Curtis from Utah. We're all a hard no. Funny, something to note is that not a single Republican voted against any of Joe Biden's picks for any of these positions, including Merrick Garland for DOJ. And who was the other one? I don't know if they had to vote on the secretary who was the health man who thinks he's a woman, Rachel Levine, whose medical license, by the way, is for Richard Levine. I wonder what it's listed as on the voter rolls. That's interesting. Richard or Rachel, to look that up sometime. I don't know if the Senate had to confirm that one, but seriously, no Republicans voted against any of Biden's picks, but heaven forbid we have 5 of them fighting against Matt Gaetz. I hope you're right, Sandy. Gaetz will go somewhere good. I hope you're right. Mitch McConnell is quite alert for a turtle. Have you seen the latest video of him? He just was like, some lady had to like move him, or she was like poking him. Like, are you still alive? What is going on with you? I don't know when his term is up, when he's done, if he's going to get carried out like Weekend. He looks like Weekend at Bernie's. Like, the dude is just done. Just, can someone take him away and just whatever their process is in Kentucky, if they appoint someone or special election or whatever. Oh my gosh. Liberty Line could think of a few good people to head up election integrity. I am really pulling for Captain Seth Keshel and Mike Lindell to get some type of something. All the national heavy hitter election integrity folks that have really been fighting on the ground since 2020. I really hope that Trump will appoint some sort of department for election integrity. At the same time, I'm torn though, because he needs to frickin' tear the whole thing down, get rid of every government agency that is not doing its job, and audit everything from top to bottom. I hope the Federal Department of Education is the first to get slashed. Is it Linda McMahon that is heading that up, I believe? My husband told me that yesterday, and I was kind of like, well, that's great, but what I would like to see is on day one, she goes, okay, we're done. We're just cutting the federal government has absolutely no constitutional authority to be involved in education of the states. Why in the world do we want people in DC telling teachers, superintendents, and schools, that local states that are halfway across the country or all the way across the country, how they should be educating their kids? And if you don't realize this, the COVID crackdowns that forced masks on kids and wouldn't let them go to school and made them stay home, a lot of that was tied to money. In order for the state to get federal funding for education, they had to, or so they said, enforce the rules that the federal government was mandating. And we could literally get rid of all of that just by cutting out the Federal Department of Education. So I'm hoping that that is on the horizon and on the docket for what's coming up. Joel, what did I forget? Linda is an AFPI AFW board. Well, that is good. That's certainly good. I still think the whole department needs to go. Would the elimination of the Department of Education require congressional approval? That is an excellent question, because I was thinking about that today. As excited as we are about the Department of Government Efficiency, it was something that the president just sprang up without congressional approval. I would have to look into that. That'd be a really good question for Rick Green. Is that, how do we know when, oh, thank you, Joel. Thank you. I'll get to this in just a second. How do we know, when they create agencies and departments? Does it have to go through Congress? How does the president have authority to do that? All good questions. I honestly don't know the answers to, but we'll dig into that and we'll discuss it next time, because that's a very good question. Updates on Audit the Vote. If you donate to us, thank you, because one of the things you donated to is an amicus brief that we filed this week. We are still fighting to try to get these cast vote records, otherwise known as CVRs, as a public document that we can right to know, request, and actually see. The cast vote records, for those who are not in the weeds of election integrity like we have been for 4 years, it is basically the equivalent of a report spit out by the machine tabulator that tells you what time ballots were scanned into the scanner itself. Other states get them with no problem. Pennsylvania, for some reason, has fought us from day one, even though by accident we have the cast vote records for Allegheny County from the 2020 election, completely by accident, or in my opinion, the hand of God moving. We are missing, of those cast vote records, 60,000 ballot images from 2020. And so we started to try to get to the bottom of what that was. Ended up going to court. Heather Honey, as you can see, she is one of the plaintiffs on this case, went after Lycoming County and was ruled initially that CVRs were not contents of the ballot box and they should be public record. That was the initial ruling by the Commonwealth Court. Our State Department, Josh Shapiro, is insisting that our elections are so free and so fair. Then why in the world did you fight this? Because his State Department then came after, filed an appeal, because they don't want us to have access to these things. Why? What are they hiding is my question. All it's going to do is show us what time ballots were scanned into tabulating machines. And if everything was done on the up and up and nothing got stuffed in the middle of the night, like what we kind of maybe sort of saw in 2020, what's the big deal? There were arguments in court in this case, the against the cast vote records are saying, no, we can't make these public record, because it's a possibility, if they are, that you'll be able to figure out as a resident of the Commonwealth how an individual actually voted on their ballot. If we give these CVRs out, there's way too much risk that we'll be able to tie a voter to figure out how they actually voted, obliterating the secret ballot idea. Now, I know a lot of people I've come across say they want a way to track their ballot. They want a receipt. They don't care if someone can find out how they voted, but that is kind of the bedrock principle of our election system, is that the only thing that should remain secret is nobody should be able to tell how you as an individual, whether you voted for Kamala Harris or President Trump or Dave McCormick or Bob Casey. So we can fight that battle another day. But we filed an amicus brief in support of the appeals so that we continue going through the court process, maybe get the decision where it should be, which is CVRs are not contents of the ballot box. They should be public record. And if the court's argument saying that, well, if we give these out, people will be able to find out how you voted, then they shouldn't be used in the first place. Maybe we shouldn't even be using machines where that's possible to figure that out. How about that for, how's that for an idea? Why the government shouldn't be allowed to know how each individual voted either. So if there's any way to figure that out, I'm fairly certain we shouldn't be using these things. All that to say, thank you to those who are donating, whether it's one time, whether it's an ongoing contribution, because when I get phone calls for stuff like this and lawyers want thousands of money because it does cost a lot of money to go to court, we are able to contribute a little bit to the cause. So thank you for that. Joel, what else did I throw at you? We're winding down 59 minutes. I'm going to finish in an hour. We are winding down. Was there a couple other things that I wanted to talk about? I don't remember. We did the Patriot Experience. We know about the holiday party. Yes, my graphic. How could I forget? So Audit the Vote is going to start doing some deep dive analysis into the voter rolls and the data, because moving forward, this is one of the ways that we can continue keeping pressure on our elected officials and holding them accountable, digging into the system. We are nowhere near done in terms of election integrity work. Just because Trump got over the finish line, we still have a lot of questions. I have a lot of doubts that this election was legitimate on all fronts, and we have every reason to believe that. Now, this is Bucks County that we pulled out. So there's some statewide stuff on here. Pulled out specifically Bucks County on the bottom because everyone that's watching this probably knows that the Bucks County Democrat commissioner was on record this past week basically saying, I don't care what the court ruled. I don't care if the court ruled that undated ballots, whether provisional or mail-in, are in fact illegal to count. I'm going to violate the law. She said it in broad daylight for everybody to hear. And so Bucks County was front and center, made national news. So we pulled out some of the stuff for specifically for Bucks County, some data. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you, Joel. Donate. Hit the like button, hit the bells so they get notified when we go live, because our plan is to do this once a week. Don't know if we'll be able to get, I love that bell. Look at that. Hit that like and bell. I don't know if we'll be able to get a definite day and time. It might be better for our viewership for us to get that, but our schedules are just all over the place. Miss Karen is going to be, go back to that graphic, Joel. I want to explain what that stuff is, and then we'll close out if that's the last thing, unless there's anything else I forgot. So, statewide, let's look at the top of this. Voters who had a permanent address change through the United States Postal Service were 500,000. So we have 500,000 voters on our rolls who filled out a permanent change of address with the USPS. That's slightly alarming. And the ones who moved out of state permanently out of state. So 500,000 just have a USPS address change on file, but 230,147 of them moved out of the state permanently, and they're still on our voter rolls. What does that mean? That means that these voters no longer live at the addresses where they are registered to vote. So questionable registration categories, when we throw these numbers at you, if they show up in that 500,000 number, they either moved out of Pennsylvania, they either switched counties, so they moved within Pennsylvania, but they're in a different county, or they moved somewhere within their county. But in all cases, where they are registered to vote is not what the Postal Service is saying. This is not where they live. And all that stuff has to be corrected before anybody should trust any outcome of any election. We have active registrations, 286,474 of that giant 500,000 number are still marked as active, meaning they could walk into a precinct and vote, even though they aren't registered at the right address. The NVRA Act, which is hopefully something that we're going to be able to pick apart, amend, and change. They are required under the NVRA to do certain list maintenance activities, and that 286,000 number shows that that has not been done. Inactive registrations who moved, 217,126. If you are an inactive on the voter rolls, you are required to show ID before you can vote at the polls or before you can cast a mail-in ballot. Look at these monstrous numbers. They're monstrous. Oh, and then Bucks County. So let's get down to Bucks County. Everything's free and fair, Josh Shapiro, right? Okay. Well, Bucks County alone has 22,800, or is it 668 voters that have moved. 12,041 moved to a new state. 9,697 voters who moved are listed as inactive. Why are they still on the voter rolls is my question. And here's the last piece, the best kicker of all, is that 3,869 of the 22,000 plus that moved voted in the 2020 election. Let that sink in for a second. 3,869 of the voters that moved. And what I have to check with my data guide, does that mean that they moved before 2020 or just since 2020? I don't know. Either way, that many people actually participated in the 2020 election. And so far, 1,909 of the moved registrants voted in Bucks County in this particular election. So there you go. Look forward to, we're going to do these graphics for as many counties as possible. And we put this out there for the naysayers that say, well, you people are causing chaos and distrust in the system, and you need to stop asking questions. I had someone yesterday on Twitter try to battle with me and say that why, obviously, it was actually the Southeast Republican, Pennsylvania Southeast Republican Committee, or I don't know who's running that Twitter program, basically told us that we're stupid and we don't understand how elections work, or we would understand how they found 11 million votes nationwide in the 14 days after the election. So here's another interesting anecdote, is that on November the 6th, the election was called. Nationwide, we had 139 million votes cast total for president. Today, there's 150 million. We got 11 million votes nationwide in the 15 days after the election. Is it possible they're trying to close that gap so it doesn't look really weird that in 2020 we had 155 million votes, and every other presidential election going all the way back to the 80s was like the max was like 135? What happened to those 20 million votes? Is it possible they just don't want us asking some questions? I think that's possible. Heaven forbid we ask questions. So this account, whatever it was, just started berating me on we're destroying trust in the system and we don't know how they work. We're putting these graphics out here for you as an individual registered voter in your county to educate yourself and to be able to have something to hold your elected officials accountable. In my experience in the last 4 years, I've met with a lot of different county commissioners, sheriffs, election directors. Many of these people in these positions to do the jobs don't even understand the job very well themselves. And they don't have answers to the questions that are on this graphic because they're just not taught. And so we're going to put these graphics out for everybody so that you can take them. Here's what you do with them. Get a meeting with your county commissioner, with your election director, bring this graphic and say, help me understand these numbers. This is not to accuse anybody of fraud. We're not saying that 2024 was another stolen election. We're saying we have questions. This is what your data shows. Can you explain to me what it means? We'll learn together. And this is how we start getting some transparency back into the process, as well as educating our fellow voters on how the system works, which is one of the many reasons how we got to 2020 is the checked out American syndrome. We had absolutely no clue how our elections were run. So that's why we're going to put these graphics out there. Again, like, share, and subscribe. Donate if you have the means to do that, whether it's a one-time donation or especially reoccurring monthly donations are incredibly helpful because it'll pay for our operating expenses for us to be able to continue 2025, 2026, and beyond. Election integrity is 365 days a year, and we have a lot of work to do. We're nowhere near done. Joel, anything else we got to add?
We have a trailer you mentioned about.
Oh, that's right. Is that the last thing?
And my funny video.
And your funny video. Okay, two things. We're almost done. Oh my gosh, it's over an hour. So there's a movie coming out, if you haven't heard about it, called Bonhoeffer. My Patriot Academy coworkers were texting me all week saying, you got to see this movie like right now, like right now. And I have a ton of stuff with my kids going on this weekend. I thought there's no way I can see it. And then I watched the trailer today and I was like, maybe I will make some time to go see this movie. So if you haven't heard about the movie Bonhoeffer that is coming out by Angel Studios, I want to show you the trailer because it's pretty compelling. And I actually have plans. I still need to buy the tickets. I think I'm going to go see it tomorrow night with my hubby and some friends. So thanks for hopping on here, Joel, and let me know.
Something's coming. Something unstoppable.
Look around you, my friend. How much light do you see?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because see visions of me creeping. I left its seeds when I was sleeping.
Hate comes in every color.
And the vision that was planted in my brain still remains within the sun.
We have devised a plot to assassinate the Führer.
You will go to England as our spy.
Churchill sees Germany as a whole. He's afraid that a bomb traced to England would mean invasion or worse.
Invasion. Invasion. My country was invaded from within.
And the people bowed in parade to the neon god they made. And the sign flashed out its warning. And the words that it was forming. And the sign said the words on the prophets are written on the subway walls and tenement halls and whispered in the sun.
I'm ready to meet my destiny.
Of silence.
Oh. So Dietrich Bonhoeffer, my husband didn't even know who Dietrich Bonhoeffer is, and he studied politics, was a Christian pastor in Germany who was trying to sound the alarm for the church to wake up as Hitler was rising to power. They ignored him. I believe he got executed 2 weeks before the war ended, World War II. So he didn't get to see the end, but he was a big voice, pivotal figure in history who actually stood up. And that movie looks incredible. I hear it's not a documentary, and it's actual motion picture, but since it's Angel Studios, we can have a little bit of trust that it's not Hollywood injected propaganda. Might actually be some fact. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. My Patriot Academy colleagues are raving about it. So check it out if it's playing at a theater near you. I know that one said Thanksgiving, but there are 4 theaters in my area that it is already showing in. So I think we're going to head and see that tomorrow. I'll report back next week. And it feels weird to go to something so serious and heavy to end on a funny video. Thank you, Liberty Line. He makes funny videos as well. But I haven't seen this yet. I'm going to trust that, Joel, this is tasteful and family friendly a little bit at least.
It totally is. This is not a video I made. This is, if any of you are know a doctor, this might be a medical thing that you may know people that need this. So it's just a more of a medical PSA.
Roll it, and then we'll call it a night. It might take him a few minutes to roll it. And that Bonhoeffer. Woo! Good trailer. Excited to see it.
How has the election made you feel on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being Nazi. My name is Dr. Nick Peterson, and I specialize in those suffering from TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. Hello, I'm Dr. Peterson. How are you? Well, Donald Trump is a felon. Nope. I asked how you were doing. The majority of Americans can mentally handle election results on both sides of the aisle. However, there's this small, albeit growing, group of, I don't want to say Americans, but people that are just disconnected from reality. Fascist. And honestly, it makes diagnosing these people a whole lot easier. I just check their social media. Gone are the days when you just search your symptoms on WebMD at home by yourself. Now they record their symptoms and post them for the world to see. The haircut is also a dead giveaway. So, what brings you in today? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's the orange democracy-destroying, Putin-loving dictator. All right, so mental illness. They are completely blind to the fact that their absurd actions and ideologies were a big factor in their party's loss. Let me ask you this. Do you even know what a democracy is? Follow-up question. Do you know how Kamala Harris became the nominee? I know you're a deplorable Nazi fascist bigot. Okay, neat. Turns out that calling half the country Nazis for 4 years was not a winning strategy. And yet somehow, not even Cardi B could save him. Do you realize what I'm going through? Yep, delusions. I am losing my right to vote. What? Where are you getting your information? Whoopi Goldberg? Well, what's the remedy, you might be wondering? Well, if you ask me, it's a history lesson in Jesus, but the pharmacy doesn't offer those. I prescribe them a brain, and I send them to trybrain.com for more information. Well, I'll show you. I'm moving to Canada. That'd be great. And I'll be shaving my head. Oh, that's... no. And one last thing. I'm going on a sex strike. Your loss. Oh, no.
Okay, that was a laugh. If it didn't at least make you smile, TDS is real. 110%.
TDS is 100% real.
TDS is real. And Ellen DeGeneres, Portia de Rossi, did I see a headline today that they're going to England and they're not coming back?
Yeah.
C'est la vie. Nobody will miss you.
To our society.
Oh my gosh, Joel, that was great. We'll have to throw some of that stuff in there too moving forward. That was really good. Where'd you find that?
Just going through my Twitter, my X feed.
X Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Awesome. Well, you guys have been listening to me yap for an hour and 15 minutes, so I think we'll wrap it up and call it a night, and we will see you guys next week. It's Thanksgiving. Oh, I'm not sure when we'll get to go live next week, but we will do something. Might not be till the weekend. Anything crazy happens, maybe we'll do it before Thanksgiving. I don't know, Joel, we got to chat. But anyways, You guys have an awesome one. If I don't get to do this before Thanksgiving, everybody have a very happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you soon.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Take care.